You have that? Yes.
والحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum everybody. How's everyone doing? Alhamdulillah. Y'all got the last 10 nights vibe going? You guys like feel like I know it's like 12:17 a.m. right now, but everyone looks like it's like right after iftar, right? Alhamdulillah. I like the energy. The energy in this room is really, really awesome. Alhamdulillah. First and foremost, just really happy to have y'all here. Every single Friday we get our Ramadan nights group going. Alhamdulillah, it's always like a good energy. We started off with having Shaykh Abdul Nasser. We had Sheikh Mubin, Mufti Noman from Allen. Alhamdulillah, we had Ustad Atif and Ustad Fatma last week, and now lo and behold, we have to our finale, Shaykh Mikaeel, alhamdulillah, who's blessing us with his company, his presence, alhamdulillah, tonight to finish off our Ramadan nights program this week, and we're excited to have him. So without further ado, the first question Shaykh, I ask you, how's Ramadan going?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. This Ramadan, obviously, a lot different than last Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, we're able to be together. Last Ramadan was just, it was bittersweet for me, actually. Like the lack of hustle and bustle, it was like you were able to kind of chill last Ramadan, but I missed this, like being with one another, brotherhood, sisterhood. I think it was really beautiful this Ramadan to get it after having lost it. You know what I'm saying? So, and get it a little bit, right? It's like social distant. So it's like you're not right back all up in my face again. You're a little distant. So it's like slowly we're getting back together. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so it's beautiful.
Alhamdulillah, amazing. And most of y'all obviously know Shaykh. I call Shaykh, I don't know why, but like I still call Shaykh Mikaeel one of our newest additions at Qalam. Even though he's been here for a while.
4 years. Like 4 years.
I still remember the Instagram post that went up that said Shaykh Mikaeel was moving from the DMV area down to Dallas. And so most of y'all, how many of y'all have heard of Qalam? We've had Qalam instructors and people coming through here the entire
It's funny he says that because like, coming from Baltimore, we, the president of Qalam and everything, like, I thought I would see like a billboard rolling up into Dallas, like, yo, Qalam is this way, right? And I started meeting people and I'm like, yeah, I'm joining Qalam. They're like, Qalu, who, what? And I'm like, yo, like, oh, okay, word. Right? So it's funny you asked that question because when I first got here, I thought it was going to be like, you know what I mean? And but alhamdulillah, they say, and I say this often, they say like the most darkness is right under the candle, right? So when the candle is lit, the whole room is lit, but right under it is darkness. And I think a lot of youth that grow up in the metroplex, like yo, you don't realize what's here, man. And I think Muslims around the world benefit from the mashayikh. You just gotta drive like 40 minutes for, like 40 minutes, right? And I think that plays into a human nature thing, whereas when I got it, I don't value it. You know what I'm saying? When it's right here, it's like adi, it's like normal. You know what I'm saying? I know some mashayikh that used to say like they don't want to live in Medina, right? Now I know that's like, what? How could you say that? They're like, I want to get used to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to get used to it, so it's not a big deal. I want to come and be like, oh, I'm in Medina. You know what I'm saying? So like I would say like definitely like post COVID as things start to get a little better. You know what I mean? Everyone gets vaccinated. Yeah, just make it part of your schedule, man. You got to spend time. The way Iman grows is spending time with good people of faith and Iman.
And this actually kind of leads you, Sheikh. It's funny you mentioned that. One of the things that, alhamdulillah, that I think at least I appreciate about you, and I know a lot of the other Qalam students and staff members appreciate about you, is the energy that you bring to a lot of programs. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but you and I,
it's all manifest, yo. Like I ain't feeling it, but I just got like, yo, gotta manifest.
No, it's true.
Manifest, yo. You gotta manifest. Seriously, man. We think like that, like hippie stuff. Yo, manifest is real, man. Like And there's precedence for that in our Islam, in the Deen.
Yeah.
I hate sidetrack, yo, but a second, yo, like the Prophet ﷺ, it was Hudaybiyah. It was Hudaybiyah, right? Hudaybiyah was when like we were trying to go for Umrah, and the Quraysh were like, no, you're not coming in here, because if you come, we look like we just got pushed over, right? And so they sent a man by the name of Suhail to negotiate. And when the Prophet saw him, he knew him, right? So he saw him and he said his name, and he said, look, Allah has made it easy for us, because Suhail comes from Sahel. So he took that name, and through that he was manifesting khair and goodness coming through the name of a person. So I think one of the things so for me, Ramadan is like New Year's. Like January, everybody do their resolutions. Right. For me, it's always been Ramadan. Yeah. Like I know the Islamic month started at Muharram. I got you. Cool. I got it. But for me, it's always been like Ramadan, like I start my new resolutions, whatever. And I think that's one of the things I'm focusing on, is manifest the good that I want to see in the world around me. You feel me? Like really, really believe. And I think that's what like psychologically the self-fulfilling prophecy teaches us, right? Yeah. Like you go to someone thinking something about them, then they're gonna project that back to you. And that came from you, actually. Yeah, absolutely. Sure, that literally came from you. Yeah. So I think there's so many examples of the Rasul ﷺ manifesting khair and goodness, and actually not allowing the manifestation of evil. So if somebody came that had a bad name, he'd be like, nah, that ain't your name, bro. Like someone came, his name was Harb. He's like, nah, you peace, man. You peace. We don't need Harb. Harb means war. But he's like, I'm not gonna let that name even like be in the air. You know what I'm saying? We like speak it. Like don't speak it into existence.
And I gotta ask.
I'm sorry to digress,
yo.
I'm sorry.
Because now you're like, when you sidetrack me, I'm just gonna sidetrack back.
Let's go.
Now you open the can of worms for me.
Okay.
So I gotta ask you a question. One of the things I find really, and this is actually kind of personal for me, right? Because my wife is a convert to Islam. She accepted Islam when she was 18. You obviously, alhamdulillah, found the deen when you were younger.
18,
exact same year.
Yeah.
So the question for you is, there's always that moment. I remember my wife kind of sat with me one time and she was telling me that the moment she realized that Islam was for her was the moment she opened up a good translation of the Quran. Because at that time she didn't know how to read Arabic, and a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
That was her defining moment. She said, I opened up the Quran and it was like I was reading a book that I just didn't have the privilege of reading my entire life. I found it. The author is Allah. So when it comes to you, do you recall a story or a time, and this may take you years back, that kind of like just hit that moment where you were like, dude, I heard about Islam before. Yeah. I knew about it before.
Yeah.
I remember you telling stories about how you were raised in a Christian family.
Yeah.
So when was that moment for you where you're like, this is a thing? Like when things are kind of like an idea.
Yeah.
But then it's like.
So no convert. It's like most are not like hit the switch. Yeah. There's very few that it's just like us literally turn the switch on. Majority is it's going to be a process, right? Even Umar ibn Khattab, like when you read his conversion story, there's so many competing stories. There's like the Taha story, the story when he heard the Prophet reciting and he's like, wait, like, is he reading my mind? Yeah. All of those led up to the conversion. So for me, September 11th had just happened. And as an African American, like I already had like white man hate, all right? I'm be real, like call it what you want. But I was kind of like, nah, man, whatever he's preaching, something up with it. Because I grew up in the hood, and so like we were the victim of a lot of systemic racism, right? And I was privileged enough my mother sent me to an all boys private school, right? All boys private school, Catholic school, and so I'm in the class with like literally the judge's son, this attorney such and such's son, and so I'm seeing it from the other side now. School back with my boys. And I'm like, you have no idea, man. This is all set up, bro. This dude, this class meet all day, but his father's the judge. He's set. He's set. So anyway, September 11th happens, and the moment the news is telling me to hate something, I'm literally like, I gotta find out more about this thing. I need to know more. And I remember the Barnes and Noble. It's in Buffalo, New York. I remember pulling up in the Barnes and Noble, and I need a Quran. And I go and I find just the simplest Quran that's in Barnes and Noble, and I pick it up and I just start reading it. And within a few days, I went through the whole thing, which to me was big because as a Christian, I had tried to read the whole Bible multiple times, but it doesn't speak to you the same way. Just like you said, your wife said, is like it had a whole different flow to it. And what's funny is like it was new but familiar. It was new, but it was like it wasn't new. Do you get what I'm saying? Like check this. Okay, you know the word ayah? We always talk about an ayah, like a verse of the Quran or a sign. Well, I heard one of the best explanations I heard of an ayah. An ayah is something that reminds you of something within you, but you had already forgot about it. So like you're going through your drawer and you find your like high school ring from when you graduated. And the moment you pick up that ring, like a dozen thoughts just flood through your brain. You remember this girl, Becky, Jessica, I don't know, whoever, right? Whatever, I don't know, somebody, right? Right? You remember all these people. The moment you touch that ring, all of a sudden, there's a whole flood of thoughts that come. That's an ayah. That's what ayah literally means. And so whenever I was reading these verses that are like a reminder, I'm like, yeah, I already know this. I already know this. You know what I'm saying? So it was like finding a long lost friend, bro.
Was there a verse that hit you?
I can't. No. It's just the whole. So the funny thing with the Quran is the lack of like, there's no flow. There's no like, you can't read the right book. You can't read it like that because if you start, the Bible's like in the beginning there was, and you're like, all right, here we go, we starting. It's like a proper start. You're like, all right, here we go, let's go. Right? And the last book is Revelations, like at the end, brimstone, and boom, you're like, all right, we finished now. We're done. I got it. Cool. The Quran is so different. You're like, where are we now? And so I know one dude who converted. His name's Jibril. And he's funny. He's like, yo, I asked him the question, like, tell me your story. He's like, yo, we used to play the Quran challenge, me and my non-Muslim friends. I'm like, what's the Quran challenge? He's like, take the Quran and just flip through it. And someone else says stop. And you stop and put your finger there. They're like, wallahi, that verse will be talking about you. Wallahu alam, right? But they would do it. And flipped it. And like, oh, dang, yo, you see that? That's me right there. So, subhanAllah, for me, it was the Quran. The Quran in English spoke to me. It's a whole different flow than the Bible. Completely different flow. And then when the stories, the names were mentioned, they were like Noah. I'm like, oh, I know him. They're like, you know, Job. I'm like, yeah, I know. Dawood. I'm like, I know all these people. But it was just filling the gaps that I had from Christianity regarding the oneness of God. And that was so troubling. Now, here's the funniest thing. My whole high school. So I was blessed and given Islam right after high school. Right? I had graduated high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm supposed to do what everyone else does. Right? But I'm like, why? I don't want the picket fence. You know what I'm saying? I don't want the American dream. You know what I'm saying? But I got what everyone else does. Cool. I'm going to do what everyone else does. Okay? Ustada.
Turn the volume up.
Yeah.
Shaykh uses a lot of hand gestures to teach, okay? It's not my fault.
No, she talking about, she whispered it and you said it out loud.
That's not just
She's like, I could have just said it out loud. No, I forgot my thought.
You're talking about the white picket fence and not wanting to.
Yeah, so then at that moment, I was in this kind of like limbo. And I think that's healthy. I think a lot of us just go from one micro goal to the next, and it doesn't allow us chance to look at the macro goal of life. We literally go from like pre-K graduation to like kindergarten. Then the next thing you know, like, all right, you got to get ready for, you know, junior high. And then the next thing you're like, all right, I got to get ready for high school. Then I got to get ready for college. Then I got to get, like, when do you stop and analyze life? And I think the biggest blessing was I messed up my college applications. So the school I went to was a really good school. They're like, you go to the school, you get anywhere you want to get into. But I screwed up. I like put the wrong school first and the wrong school second. and like it's like disrespect. So the one, whatever. I didn't get into the school, right?
Yeah.
So I was in this limbo state, and so I'm like, let me see, I'll apply next year. Let me just chill for a bit. But in that chill was when like I was able to like really think, man. And all of those deep questions that we had as children that we brushed off because life told us just keep moving. Yeah. They started to come back, and I'm like, nah, man, I need to find purpose, man. I need to find purpose again. You know, and normally, like, yeah, you know, I need to find purpose again. And so that led to just like this, the curiosity came back, because I was already like, before high school, like religious Christian. Like I was like, I know there's a deeper purpose in life. Yeah. But those deeper questions of Christianity always troubled me. Right. And there was a point where I was like, I'm done with Christianity. I'm done. There's too many holes, like major issues with belief and stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. And so those questions started to come back. Yeah. And then and I'm not going to say it in a like a, I don't want to sound insensitive, but for me, September 11th was a blessing. And there's thousands of people converted because or after, right after September 11th.
You're talking about this. This is really interesting, because you almost said that like you almost found this time, I guess, in your life to like ponder and think about those deeper reflections about God and faith when you got denied from those college applications. Yeah. And then you kind of mentioned that you found like a deeper significance to even after September 11th. So it seems like for you, at least in your life, even like in the moments of like when most people would actually judge it as bad, you kind of found some beauty in that stuff.
And even I think we need to look deeper. I think societally we have this thing where it's just one hurdle to the next. Yeah. And I think all of us, we get these like moments when we're like driving down the George Bush whatever part, and it's like, what am I doing with my life? We get those moments, right? And then we're like, all right, anyways, my boss just texted me, let me get back on this project, whatever. Right? They come and it goes. And I think when you look at other civilizations, they had these rites of passage where like you were a boy, you went off into the forest, and a month later you come back, they're like, yo, you're a man, come, let's go. Like there was this time alone where you found yourself. Yeah. Where you literally found yourself. And I think we have an epidemic of people losing themselves right now. And the Quran speaks about losing yourself. When you lose the connection with Allah, you lose yourself. And so like that time off I was able to reflect back at my life and say, what am I living for? Because at that point it was pure hedonism. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't make me explain, right? Elaborate on that. No, it was pure hedonism, right? Because what other reason should I live for except for pleasure, right? But that moment off, again, was such a great blessing because it allowed me the opportunity to reassess those questions and say, what am I living for? Why am I on this earth? What is this planet all about?
It almost like reminds me of the Prophet ﷺ going through the situation of tahallul, right? Just breaking away from the work, school, family, friends, the kind of the daily rotating door of just regularity, right? Just trying to get away and finding something that's a little bit more meaningful. I mean, I think everyone has gone through that. How many of y'all would say that like you spent time in your life just like pondering about your purpose in life over the past year or 2 years even?
For sure.
Right? I think everyone goes through that.
Yeah.
And today's theme is really interesting because, you know, the first week that we were hanging out with Mufti Noman and Shaykh, we were talking about a specific theme, and with Shaykh Nasir, we were talking about another theme. Last week with Ustad Fatima and Ustad Atifa, we talked about istiqamah, steadfastness. Today, I want to kind of ask you a question about this concept that we know in our religion called Ihsaan. Anyone know what the word Ihsaan means in Arabic? Anyone know? Ihsaan? Excellent. Okay, very good. Excellent. Like this idea of like just putting your best effort forward, you know? And you were giving us a background to how you kind of discovered that love for Islam. You know, recently in the past 2 years, you wrote this book, right? Obviously you had, mashallah, an amazing cast of people supporting you, the heart and mind. And I asked Shaykh, this is the exact same question, by the way. I asked Shaykh, I said, Shaykh, you know, growing up, was there a moment where his theme was tawakkul, by the way? So when Shaykh told a story about Mufti Naeem Saab coming to him when he was like young.
Yeah.
And coming to Dallas and telling his folks that this dude needs to go and study.
Yeah.
There's like a personal story that rung a bell for him at that moment about like trusting God in that process. So I gotta ask you this question. So when you were writing that book, or even the process of thinking about writing that book, the emotional intelligence of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I know, for example, for me, I think a huge struggle for me was finding books, finding resources that are quality heavy. You know what I'm saying? When you were kind of writing in the process of the heart, with the heart in mind, was there a level of ihsaan that you felt was like a responsibility on your shoulders? Like, did you just not want to write another book that every other person tried to write? Was there a sense like, I got to do this, like, if I'm going to do this, I got to do this like nobody else did it before? Was there like a kind of like a feeling of that when you were writing the book? Okay, so yes and no. Yes and no. So to answer your question directly, the thing that helped me write it and get through the book the best was a close friend of mine. He's here in Metroplex. I'm not going to tell you who. He texted me and he said, I'm going to say it nicely. He's like, crappy first draft. Okay, he didn't say that, but he said crappy first draft. What do you mean with a tongue chip on that? No, it wasn't. No. He said like crappy first draft. And it really hit me because when we talk about perfection, that can really be demotivating for a lot of people. And I think like there's an interesting balance between seeking perfection and realizing perfection. So hear me out on this. So excellence. Inna Allah kataba al-ihsan ala kulli shay. The Prophet ﷺ literally said that indeed Allah has ordained excellence on everything. What that means, what that translates is whatever you apply yourself to, you should put everything you got into it. Do it well. Do it well. And the Prophet ﷺ then gave examples. He said, إِذَا ذَبَحْتُمْ فَأَحْسِنُوا الذَّبْحَ. Even when you're slaughtering an animal, do it in the best way possible, right? So no doubt that's part of our deen, right? Try to do things in your best. But I think there's also a realization that imperfection is the lot of Bani Adam. Like as human beings, imperfection is part of who we are. And so we're striving for perfection, but at the same time, I leave the outcome up to Allah. You feel me? So like I'm striving, I'm doing my best. Right. And so let's back up a bit. Let's back up a bit. Check this out. So there's a recent article that was published by Traversing Tradition that I wrote about the inner locus of control and outer locus of control. And so basically, it looks like you didn't read it. So I'm gonna explain it to you. Inshallah. Okay. Mashallah. So basically, there's two types of people, right? There's certain people that have a very inner locus of control. Simply means that these people, they see their agency in the world around them. They see that they affect things around them. And many times that's also because their parents actually let them do things. like they let them do things. So they saw that they could affect the world, right? And these people are amazing because they're go-getters. Any obstacle is not an obstacle. It's just a hurdle. Got to jump over it. Got to get around it. You know what I'm saying? They're go-getters. They strive, right? They go after it, right? But the problem spiritually with having this mentality is innama utitu ala ilmin indi. They say, oh, this was all me, yo. Look what I did, yo. Look what I did. Now, spiritually, once you say, look what I did, you're done. You've literally just cut off your connection with Allah. You feel me, right? You get it. Like the thing that made them so good and achievers, if it's not regulated, it can be the thing that really stops them from spiritually getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You feel me, right? So the good thing is setbacks don't set them back. They keep pushing. They're more successful, not because they're better, because they just try more times, right? But the spiritual harm of that is that they're like, it's all me. So they got to be humbled, right? Cool. What's on the other side? The other type of people are outer locus of control people. These are people that feel that whatever they do, there's no agency, right? These are people like, I don't need to rock a mask, yo, I'm good, whatever. It's like, I'm gonna die. Now, what are you saying? Do your part, dude. You know what I'm saying? Yo, backs up, man. Do your part, man. You know what I mean? If you're anti-vaxxer, my bad. Forgive me. I'm saying my bad, yo. My bad. So these people don't see their agency. And a lot of that, as I'm going to say, a lot of it is because many times parents did not allow you
to do stuff. So you're like, it don't matter what I do. It doesn't affect life. Okay. Now, what's the problem with this? Well, they're not go-getters. Any obstacle, as I told you, it wasn't going to work. You know what I mean? Any obstacle, I told you it wasn't going to work. Like, yo, can we try again? You know what I'm saying? I told you it wasn't going to work. I told you it wasn't going to work. Like, so these people, they're not more successful, right? And I think as Muslims, the inshallah can really make us really external locus of control people. Inshallah. Inshallah. Man, get up, yo.
It's like maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? And like I had to catch myself because my youngins, right? Like Qasim, some of y'all know Qasim and Madia. Like Qasim is to the point where he's like, no, inshallah, dad. And I'm like, dang, I'm messing up, yo. I'm slipping up. I can't be using this inshallah like that, you know? So the external locus of control has a very negative beginning, but it also has a very good like outcome sometimes, which is what? The humility when it's successful. They're like, oh, you know, it wasn't me, the team did it. And the whole team's like, no, you did the whole thing, bro. You know, it wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? But and you know what else is good? They don't take failure that hard. They don't take failure hard. Like, yeah, whatever. It's not personal. You know, and so why am I saying that? Why am I saying all that? Because I think when we talk about striving for excellence, you need to be a person that's motivating yourself. You need to be pushing yourself. You need to be going as if your actions are all that truly matter. Feel me on this. Hear me on this. Like as if it's only up to you. But once you've done your best, once you've literally exerted everything you got inside of you, you literally let go and let God. And that's the balance of a believer right there. That's the balance. It's like I literally did everything I could as if it was all up to me. But the moment I let go of it, I let go. And now I'm like, it's up to Allah now. And if you do anything less than your best and you let go, then you're a bit at fault. And I'll give a hadith to support that. Two men came to the Prophet ﷺ with like a little case. Like they had a discrepancy over something. So they each have to present their side of the case. The first one goes, he presents his side. The second one goes, he presents his side. And the Prophet ﷺ, he judges for one of them. He has to decide. And the one who he judged against turned around. And as he's walking away, he says, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. Now, what does that mean? Well, what does it translate to? And then what does it mean? It translates to Allah is enough for me and the best disposer of affairs. But what is he really trying to say? What's he trying to say here? In a way, like politely, like the Prophet ﷺ got it wrong. Politely, we could say that. Like, I got the short end of the stick. Like, I'm truly right, but Allah is the best disposer of affairs. I'm going to hand it over to Allah. Does it make sense? You feel me? Now, it sounds like, that sounds really good. Like, you lose a case, and you're like, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. Like, good Muslim. You just passed the test of spirituality. Wrong. The Prophet ﷺ called him back. He said, excuse me, come back here. Come back. We got to talk a little bit. Now, I need you to hear this. Just hear exactly what I'm saying and don't expand on it yet. The Prophet ﷺ said, Inna Allah yalumu ala bil. The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah finds it blameworthy when you're not capable. Now, don't go further with this. Let me explain what that means. It simply means he didn't put his best foot forward. You could have did better. And I judge based on what you did. You could have did better. فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِالْكَيْسِ. Do a good. You have to strive and do better. And then he said, فَإِذَا غَلَبَكَ أَمْرٌ. After you did your best, if you're overpowered, فَقُلْ حَسْبِيَ اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. You feel me? And that to me is a mind-blowing perspective, because this next year, there are so many things I need to achieve. And what I need to realize is there's barakah in harakah. Harakah in, what does harakah mean? Yeah, there's harakah and barakah, yo. Yeah, exactly. So harakah is movement, right? Like, and barakah and harakah come together. Like, you got to move, man. You got to get moved. You got to do what you want to do. You got things you want to achieve. You got to go after them as if it's all up to you. And then the spiritual part comes in because you let go and you're like, yo, it's not up to me, man. It's truly up to Allah. And when it fails, people are looking at you expecting you to be really down, and you're like, nah, I'm good. Wait, how did you just try so hard, but you're okay with the failure? Yeah, because I already knew it was up to Allah. When you reach that state, you're good, yo. Spiritually, you're good. You just got to hold on to that. So for me, after Ramadan, there's like things I'm going after, man. Right? Because life is short, man. For real, life is short. And so if we don't go after them ourselves with perfection, that's what I'm saying. The ihsan is I'm trying my best, man. And I know my best will be less than perfect. But that less than perfect is also how I get close to Allah too.
SubhanAllah, man. That's, and this kind of reminds me of something, right? Shaykh Mikaeel, by the way, I don't know, Shaykh, if you remember this, but you and I went on a retreat together to Tennessee in 2019. You remember this Back Qalam retreat in the Smoky Mountains in 2019?
Yeah, Smoky Mountains.
And I remember,
that was 2019.
That was 2019. It was crazy.
Yo, man, time,
man. Shaykh Mikaeel was leading boot camp in the morning. He was out there doing like jumping jacks with people after Fajr.
Push-ups, everything, man.
That was everything.
You know why? I think there's a connection between. Oh man, I think there's a connection between athleticism and spirituality.
I was actually going to ask you this. So I literally remember seeing Shaykh Mikaeel, like people just like following Shaykh Mikaeel around after Fajr Salah, and like people just like doing like lunges and
we were getting it in,
doing stuff like that after Fajr. It was really interesting for me to see.
Everybody was going back to sleep.
Everyone was going to sleep. There's like 10 hustlers there.
Yeah.
And so there was fun.
Some of our cultures ain't like morning people.
It's true. It's really true.
I ain't gonna call no specific cultures out, but some of y'all, like, it seems like y'all whole country be sleeping after Fajr. Certain people, man. I was gonna call out the Daisies, but whatever. They just be like, yo, after Fajr, I'm out, man. I'm trying to sleep. And I'm up, and yo, it'll work. You know what I mean? Alhamdulillah. If you got love, it'll work. But when you're looking for a spouse, you better look for that. You got, you morning, or you a morning person or not? You know what I mean?
So I remember. Is
my wife watching? She might be still watching.
I still remember from that retreat. There was a lot of things that I didn't know about you that I actually found out. So for example, I don't know if Shaykh Mikaeel remembers this, but there was a time I'll actually share this story with you guys. We were, Shaykh, you remember that day where I had to drive like 13 times around to get people to the top of the mountain? Do you remember that one day?
Kind of, briefly.
The peak. So
yes, I got it. I got it now. I got it.
So there was that one time we had to do that. I remember Shaykh was in one of the vans that we were driving up and down the mountain. And so we had this like really, really dope uncle with us during that retreat. He was awesome. This elderly Pakistani uncle, and and everyone obviously knows Shaykh Mikael's wife is actually Pakistani. And we didn't know that Shaykh Mikaeel could spit like Urdu poetry.
Come on, man, stop, man.
No. This is for real. Like, I'm not even exaggerating right now. Like I was driving.
You know why I hate when this is mentioned? No, hold on. You know why I hate when people mention I know Urdu? You know why? Because by the grace of God, I've memorized the book of Allah. You know what I mean? I've been able to learn the deen. And then when people are like, yo, he knows Urdu.
No.
I'm like,
that's not
there's some other stuff there.
That's not the point of the story. That's not the point of the story.
No, I'm just messing around.
I found that Shaykh Mikaeel has some like random towns that I had no idea about. I was like driving on like a 4x4 road. And I was like, Shaykh Mikael's back here. He's like, I was like,
yeah.
I was like, just turning around. But during that retreat, I found out Shaykh Mikaeel, mashallah, has like a lot of really neat interests. And Shaykh, one of the interests that you have for sure. And this is something that, Shaykh and Nasser, all the Qalam instructors you all talk about, is you love gardening.
Gardening,
you love gardening. That's like your jam.
Yeah. Don't come and see it. I got to do some weeding. Like right now, it's Ramadan, so there's a lot of weeds in the garden. So don't come to my house and let me see it, because I'm like, not right now.
Like if I'm fasting, my plants are fasting, we're all fasting together. It's all good.
But I do have right now about 8 tomato plants, 2 eggplants, apple tree, squash. Yeah, it's nice. No figs. So I got apple and a peach. The peach isn't doing too well, but yeah.
So I gotta ask a serious question though. Like all jokes aside, I gotta ask you a serious question. So with this interest that you have, right, and we've seen like the videos of you with the Kamani biking through grapevine, trails over there and like grapevine. So you clearly have like this, love for the outdoors. You love it.
I like doing new stuff, man.
Yeah.
No, hold on, for real. Like I think we cut our minds off from trying things before we even tried them. You know what I'm saying? Like this whole last week, low key, I don't like to tell people and stuff because they're like, dang, you doing something different now. Like my little Madia, she's 8. She wanted to learn how to skateboard. right? So Khalid, you saw me with the skateboard, yo. So like, if there's a skateboard in my house, I'm gonna try to learn too. So now when I go to the mailbox, I just skateboard to the mailbox. You know what I mean? Yo, but why? Like, I want to learn something new. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about now certain things. I think there's a spiritual thing, and I think that's where you're going with this. Like, gardening to me, I think there's a lot of gems in gardening. Like, from planting a seed to see the fruit of it later. Like, it's not. I can get more at Kroger's. Don't get me wrong. Like, but it's the process that you're watching, right? It's you interacting with the ground. Throughout the Quran, Allah speaks about nature, but we're so disconnected from nature. We're like, oh, how is that so amazing, right? Like, literally, there's verses about nabata, right? Like plants growing, and me and you were like, yeah, okay, like I really don't get it. What's so like deep about that? I'm like, grow a plant and watch it grow. Seriously, nurture it, water it, watch it grow. You know, like subhanAllah, one of the things, a lesson I found is like whenever you're growing any plant, the biggest thing that will have like will like is the hardest thing to get over is like pests, right? And you literally have to go out to the plant and like make sure there's not pests eating at your plant, right? And I realized one day, I was like, yo, these are like the haters in life. For real, like I'm taking these bugs off. I'm like, these are the haters in life. They like, once you grow, they want to eat off of you, you know, and they'll eat off of you until you die. Literally, they will eat off of you until you die. You just got to keep flicking them off and keep going and keep growing.
Not literally.
You know, flick off. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm serious. I'm serious. So gardening to me, it was different, man. I don't know. I'm still and working in the ground. Like, I think there's like everything needs to be grounded, right? Even when you're working with electricity, there's a ground, right? Like seriously, any electricians here? Like seriously. Oh no blue collar. My bad. Okay. Electrician. Yo, blue collar making big dough these days. All right, don't sleep. Don't sleep. Right? Plumber's getting paid, yo. Okay. Huh? Yeah, exactly. No joke. No joke. No joke. Don't sleep on blue collar, yo. It's for real, for real. Okay, we can't digress there. Let's come back. Yeah. Where was I? So I was saying about grounded. Yeah. So like touching the ground, like especially after being on all of these devices all day, like to literally go on my knees into my flower bed and literally like be digging in the ground. There's some fulfillment. Maybe I'm whack, maybe I'm lame, maybe I'm old now. I don't know. But there's some fulfillment that I get in something so simple as that. And then when you finally get the fruit from it, like you pick that tomato, man. Yo, that tomato tastes good, man. I'm telling you, because you watched it grow, you know, and then it's amazing because it's just the whole cycle is, and it's amazing because you see the power of rain. Like you'll water your, this is becoming gardening less, whatever. You'll water your joint yourself every day. Once there's a good rain, the growth you see from that is nothing near the water you like. And Allah speaks about the rainwater, the barakah in the rain. Right? And so, you know, I know it's deep. I love it. I think there's so many lessons in gardening. You know, a kafir, you know, kuffar, kafir is actually from the farming term to cover up something. So the kafir is the one who's covering up the belief of God. They know God exists, but they're covering it up the way a farmer covers up a seed. Like, wallah, I'm just like sharing, man. It's just, and then the other thing is you learn the language of things that you interact with. Everything in this world speaks a language. Everything speaks a language. And what happens is you learn how to speak the language of that thing. I'm not even being like like physical here. When there's too much sun or when there's lack of water, a plant will tell you that in a certain way. And a lot of times we interact with people and we don't know the language that they're speaking. And so what I've learned is every plant has a different language. When I learn the language of that plant, I can nurture that plant. So when I learn the language of other people, I can nurture you too. Feel me?
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you know, and kind of go off of that. You know, we're obviously in these last 4 or 5 days of fasting now, man. It's like now or never.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, literally, yo, like it feels like a week ago that we started that first weekend of Ramadan.
Yeah.
And now we're literally just, people talking about it's Eid on Thursday.
Yeah, it's less than a week. Less than a week.
Calculations versus seeing it with your own eyes.
But hold on, I know you're going somewhere, but real quick, so I don't want to lose this thought. Yo, forgive me, my bad. Yo, it's my boy. It's my boy, man. Yo, remember this. I said this in another lecture at some other masjid. Listen, in track, they teach you run through the finish line. You don't slow down. You don't run to the finish line. You run through the finish line. That's how you get your best time. And I think if you apply that to Ramadan, if you keep looking at Eid like, yo, Eid. Before Eid comes, you're going to be like, man, I'm done.
Yep.
I'm already done. Yep. You're going to start slowing up. You know what I'm saying? Run through the finish line, man. And that's the beauty of that 6 after.
Yeah. So that's...
See what I'm saying? That's the beauty of the 6 after.
So that's the thing here, right? So if we're talking about Ihsaan right now, talking about excellence, right? So if you had one piece of advice to kind of share with everybody right now, right? I mean, man, we are literally just at the home stretch. Muslims are really calculated people. We like doing math a lot about Laylatul Qadr, what nights are going to be. I know it's Qadr night.
I think it was last night. Low key. No? Whenever you didn't spend the night, you're like, nah, it wasn't last night. You don't know. God didn't tell you. How you know?
He didn't tell the prophet.
Yeah, you don't know. I ain't listening to you. It wasn't last night. I could tell who spent it good. Some of y'all was like, yeah. I was like, nah. No, I do not need 80 years of what I did last night.
Definitely 29. So if you were to kind of wrap it all, right? I mean, man, like we got these four days left or so. How would you, man? Is there a story from the life of the Prophet ﷺ that talks about like his drive, like what made him who he was? I mean, the guy never stopped, right?
Yeah.
That's like the thing. And to be quite honest, when he decided or when he knew that Allah Ta'ala and he were done with the mission of the Quran, he actually chose to meet Allah.
Yeah.
Right? So that was it. That was him. So when it comes to us, obviously we're nowhere near the caliber of the Prophet, but how do we like even slightly achieve that level of drive, right? Ihsaan is also drive.
Yeah.
That kind of like that focus, that like, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. So how do we get to that, especially knowing we got 4 or 5 days left?
So again, it's human nature. We're getting tired. Obviously, it's a month. Like, that's human nature part. All right. So I think first of all, there's this concept of mujahida in the deen. Please understand that our deen is based on the concept of struggle. Like, they're inherent in the deen is struggle, because through struggle is growth. You don't go to the gym to not struggle. You go because you get gains through struggle, right? So similar, same exact thing, okay? I think what we need to realize is this. I shared something on my story on Instagram yesterday, which was like, you may get tired with certain types of ibadah. Just switch up. Just switch up. Like, you read Quran for 10 minutes and you get tired. Okay, just do some istighfar. Astaghfirullah, man. Astaghfirullah. 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 You get tired of that. Switch up. Salah ala nabi. It's beautiful. And each one has a different feeling too. You know what I'm saying? So like, switch up your ibadah so that you're not getting tired of them. You know what I'm saying? And then just avoid sin. Like, remember, like, as long as we're not in sin and we're in a good state with Allah, that's the best thing. And one more thing, it only takes one moment. I'm gonna share something with you. I remember, like, I was a student, right? And it was Ramadan, and I was spending Ramadan with my teachers. And this was like this hyper spiritual environment, okay? Like super. It's like i'tikaf, 30-day i'tikaf, okay? And literally not walk out the building. I walked out on Eid. I was like, there's a sun, wow. Like, you know what I mean? Like, literally. And I remember that whole month, like, I didn't feel it. I did everything, but I never got the feeling. And it was literally the Asr, where Eid is tomorrow. So the Asr,
almost out of the day.
The end of the day. And I started to think, I'm like, it's over. And in that last 30 minutes, my heart broke and I bawled like a baby. I was crying like a baby. And it was just one moment though. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, all you need is one moment of closeness to Allah. And this Ramadan is accepted. Don't look at this like it's so long so that you can find that moment. You keep trying, you keep trying, you keep trying, you keep trying. You get that one moment where you're like, you feel something, you got it. Alhamdulillah. I got what I came for. I'm out. See you next year, yo. I got it. So keep searching for that in these last few days. Like, try your best. Just spend time alone. Cut off all of the extra, like whatever you can cut off, to spend more time engaged in dhikr of Allah. Dhikr is powerful, man. I don't think we talk about dhikr enough, yo. Why is dhikr so big and it's so easy? Like, it's literally the easiest ibadah. Like, if I was like, yo, you want to pray 20 rak'ah or you want to do 20 subhanallah? You're like, 20 subhanallah. Right? You know what I'm saying? Seriously. So why is there so much emphasis on dhikr if it's so easy? Ghazali says because it's the beginning and the end at the same time. What does that mean? It's the beginning of love, but it's the sign of love. It's the consequence of love. You get it? It's so it's trippy, yo. Like, the dhikr is what causes love. But once you have love, you enter into this state of constant dhikr. So it's also the objective as well. All of the ibadah is for dhikr, for a heart that's connected with God. And so the reason I'm saying that is I don't think we talk enough about just sitting back, man, turning everything off and just reciting the glorifications, man, with contemplation. Obviously, you want presence of heart and mind, you know, but that's what I would spend my time in the rest of these days on.
And I also think that dhikr almost is like the dhikr that we know, like the glorification of Allah, the gratitude to Allah, is also a microscopic version of dhikr on a grander scope. Right?
Okay.
Your salah is also.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Remembrance, man.
Yeah.
It's remembrance. You going outside and even like doing something that remotely pleases Allah is adhkar, right?
It is.
It's like these beautiful moments. I remember Imam Shaykh one time said something really fascinating. Is everyone really limits ibadah. Everyone just kind of puts like a confinement on what worship is.
Yeah.
Dude, worship can be like anything, man.
Yeah.
Worship can be, and we obviously have that ritual that Allah Ta'ala gives us, but worship in general can be so many different facets. And it's kind of like you said, like we all kind of make Islam like an all or nothing religion.
Yeah.
But it's really not.
Yeah.
It's really not. I mean, man, like if you have that one moment, like you said, that's it. That's it. And what if that one moment is what turns next Ramadan into like 2 moments?
Yeah, Allah
3 moments, right? Subhanallah, right? One of the most amazing things. And so what I wanted to actually do now, inshallah, is I know y'all have probably questions. It's the 26th night right now. Yeah, I know everyone has a lot of questions they want to ask, and we're gonna inshallah try to get everyone's questions in. So if everyone could go to the anonymous Q&A platform really quickly. We do this every single week, Shaykh, with our guest teachers, alhamdulillah, and we try to get as many questions in as possible from the crowd because we want some of that engagement. So if everyone could go to menti.com, everyone knows the drill now. If you go to that website on your phone, let me know. Someone give me a thumbs up when you're on it. Everyone thumbs up. We're good. All right. So you can plug in the code. Everyone ready for the code? Good. The code is 4484. 4484 7516. So menti.com 4484 7516. And what you do is you literally just type in your question, and it's anonymous. There's no name or nothing on it. And if you like someone else's question that you see, you can actually like that question. It gets bumped to the top, so you can actually kind of like answer that. We'll answer that question that is often asked by a lot of people. So we're gonna give everyone like a few seconds to kind of get those questions in, and then we'll let Shaykh let Shaykh get to it. Jaffer, man. Jaffer is here. How you doing? No, here. It's crazy. What happened? Amazing. Yes, sir. The code is 4484 7516. 4484 7516. So we actually already got a couple of questions in. Ooh, we got some good.
Website and code again. What is it?
Website is menti.com, menti.com, and the code is 4484 7516. All right. Ooh, man, this is good. So you ready for this one?
I hope.
I don't know if you're ready.
What's up? Bismillah. Go ahead.
I gotta embrace this moment. All right, here we go. Somebody asked, they actually began this question with Shaykh Real Talk. It's like surreal now.
Okay.
They said, how do we deal with a lack of motivation, which almost leads you to feeling hypocritical? I know it's kind of like a loaded question. There's like a couple of concepts in the one question. But how do you deal with a lack of motivation that almost is like making you think that you're on the cusp of like, man, maybe I just do things and I do it because everyone else is doing it. Well, I don't have that like irada for myself, like how do you address
I think there's two separate. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay. Wallahu alam. Inshallah, this is helpful for the person. First thing I'm going to say is there's two separate things going on in this question. Say the question, just the question, not your tafsir of it. Say the question one more time.
The question is, how do we deal with the lack of motivation and feelings of hypocrisy?
So I want to talk about the feelings of, and it says and? Okay. So I was assuming that they're saying, as you said, that the feelings of hypocrisy are coming due to the lack of motivation. All right. This is the assumption I'm going to take. Okay. So Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. The first thing is this. The Prophet ﷺ in a very, he said, for everything there's a peak and a, for everything there is a high point and a fatara. Shirra wa fatara. Shirra wa fatara. That hadith is really powerful because it lets you know and expect, teaches you to expect the ups and downs of emotional changes, right? Willpower is a finite resource. Willpower is a finite. We don't have infinite willpower. That's why you should set the hardest things first thing in the morning. If you set them at the end of the day, it's very hard to do. So everything has an up, everything has a down. The Prophet ﷺ taught us this. So whenever you reach a point of down, then realize that no, this is okay. There's nothing wrong with this. This is fine, right? Now the problem, and I think this is what many of us go through, is prolonged down states, right? Prolonged down states. And that can be debilitating. There may be certain issues that someone is facing. It may be like a family issue. It could be it's so hard to say what that is going to be. But the fact that you don't feel motivated, that's okay as long as you keep doing what you're supposed to do. But if your lack of motivation stops you from doing what God wants from you, then that's something you really got to look deeper at. All right, and figure out what's the source of it, where it's coming from, and fight through it. One of the things that Sidi Ahmed Zarruq says, I thought was great. Sidi Ahmed Zarruq is an amazing scholar from Fez. Shout out West North Africa, right? Represent from Fez, amazing scholar. And he talked about when you have feelings of like kasal and lack of drive. He said one of the things you can do is you use other emotions to push out another emotion. So for example, anger. You can use anger to push out kasal. You get what I'm saying? We do it all the time. Like you literally talk to yourself, you're like, yo, you whack, bro. Mikaeel, what are you doing? You a slacker. And you're like, no, I'm not, let's go. So you're actually using another emotion to get you where you need to go to fight through that emotion. Now you got to find out which emotions will resonate with you, right? But for some of us, it's that anger that we can use to actually get us. So he says, use your anger. This is what he says. This is deep. He says, give yourself tawbih, like give yourself a pep talk, and then stand up. He says, like an angry person stands up, ghadban. And he said, you'll find energy in that. Wallahu alam. I thought that was amazing.
Beautiful.
Like, but he literally says, but you got to stand up. So you're like, yo, we got to do this, man. We got to do this. And you stand up. And that moving of the position with that force helps you to get through that difficulty. Wallahu alam.
Really interesting. Actually, Imam Ghazali also talks about how you turn certain vices into virtues.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
When you have anger as a vice.
Use anger. You got to use anger on your side.
Turn it virtuous.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Hate things that are actually worth being hated.
Yeah,
right?
or use it for yourself. You get angry at your, but see, again, guys, you got to use this, like, you know what I'm saying? It can't become self-hate. Yeah. It's all using the emotion to get you what you need, where you need to get to.
Exactly.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. But if it's deeper, if none of this is working, you just need to talk to someone professional, Ustad Atifa or someone like that. You may need to talk to someone who can help you through that, something that's holding you back. If it's prolonged, you feel what I'm saying? 2-3 days of not feeling like doing anything is not a big deal. A week is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone have a follow-up to that? Like any question that anyone wants to ask as a follow-up? I don't want to I never like cheaping out on questions and moving on too quickly. Does anybody have a follow-up to that before we move on? Anyone? Okay. So now we'll move on to the second one. So the second question is, Shaykh, actually, this is actually for you directly. So your favorite way to focus during your salah? Salah is like a big portion of our Ramadans, right? We're praying just out, pumped, nafil, everything. How do you stay focused during your salah? How do you do it specifically?
Okay, so what I try to do for me, it's not gonna work for everyone. What I do for me is What I do for me is I really try to think of the meaning of what's being said. And I know everyone's not at that level to do that, but you should strive to get some level of that understanding. I think that's something that everyone should kind of strive for, a meaningful prayer, right? Where you know the meaning of it's full of meaning. A meaningful prayer is full of meaning. And so I think we have to connect to the meaning of what we're actually saying, right? In Taraweeh, that's tough though. Come on, that's a lot. Like you're not gonna know the whole tafsir of every verse, right? But you're gonna get certain things. You're gonna get certain things that you connect to, you hear, you understand. The other thing that really helps me, and this may help you guys too, is realizing that I only get one opportunity to pray tonight's Isha. I've brought this up before. Like, do I ever get a chance to remake today's Isha? Not tomorrow's Isha. Today's Isha, I got one chance, yo. I never ever get a chance to pray that prayer again. It's written in the books however I prayed it. And so when I reflect on the fact that I got one chance for this one, sometimes that really helps me to think. There's another hadith that I like to reflect on. Really, in one hadith, he says, personally from the prayer what they are present in. And the Prophet literally said, like, some people get 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. You know what I'm saying? Some people get 9/10. They get a 90 on that prayer. So that to me really helps me to be like, yo, I'm standing here anyway. Why don't I get a good grade? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm already standing here. Why don't I bring that presence?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember Mufti Kamani actually follows this as well. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No. I don't want to lose you. You guys were good.
No. Okay. Listen. I part of presence in a calm mind in prayer is a calm mind out of prayer. When you have a constant bombardment of media, reel after reel after reel after reel after reel, and then you want to pray and you think you're gonna focus, come on, man. It's not gonna happen. Like, literally, the brain doesn't work that way. You literally need buffer time. Cal Newport talks about this in Deep Work. He's like, you literally can't go from one task to the next because your attention is still on the previous task for the next, like, at least 5 minutes. Yes. So how do you jump straight into a prayer after reels and think you're going to just like, oh, I'm all focused up now? Like, no, what are you doing? So why am I saying that? Because we need to cultivate silence. We need to cultivate silence around ourselves. And I think a lot of us, we're not comfortable by ourselves. You're not comfortable alone. And like, you got to live with yourself.
Well, last year was tough for a lot of people in Ramadan. You know?
Yeah. And alone, see, solitude, when you love somebody, you want to be alone with them. You're like, oh, can y'all bounce? You know what I mean? You want to be alone, you want to be solitude with them, right? So similarly, like, when you spend time in solitude, you get comfortable with yourself, right? And some of us, you just leave us alone, and I got to turn something on. I got to hear something. I got to watch something. I can't be by myself. I can't look in the mirror of my own image spiritually. You get what I'm saying? And I know this may hurt, but it's okay to go to hurtful places occasionally. All right? I know this may be painful, but the reason I'm saying that is when you sit in solitude more, you start to connect and know yourself more. And that will help you in the prayer undoubtedly, man. Undoubtedly. Wallahu, I'm sorry I had to.
No, you're good. That was beautiful. I mean, and this next question kind of like just touch upon something you mentioned earlier. This person says, can you go a bit into detail? I know Shaykh, you got a little bit of the time crunch here, but we're gonna, inshallah, wrap up with the next couple of ones. Can you go to a bit of detail about knowing when you had your moment? You talked about that moment in Ramadan. Like, how do you know, like, and actually, you said, because now I feel like if I don't,
I know.
Show emotions, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy next to me in Taraweeh is like bawling tears.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not feeling it.
Yep. Okay. This is whoever asked this question, thank you so much. Whoever asked this question, thank you so much. We don't worship emotion. Like, we don't worship a feeling. And if you never have a moment of for me, that was that moment. It hit me. That moment hit me, and so be it. But if you don't have this emotion that hits you, but you've been doing what you need to do, you've been doing the acts of righteousness. That's what we seek out. We don't seek we don't worship the emotion. You get what I'm saying? There are some people who chase the emotion in the ibadah. And if they don't get it, they feel like the ibadah it didn't achieve the objective. You're just chasing another high. It's just a drug to you. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? So I'm so happy whoever asked this question. We're not chasing emotion. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't come. It doesn't, that's not part of what we've been obliged, because we don't have control over the heart that way. So that question is amazing, and definitely we don't chase after an emotion. We want consistency. We want to worship. We want to keep going. If I do get some feeling, alhamdulillah. If not, thumma alhamdulillah, I'm still fine. That's a beautiful question. Thank you so much for that question.
It's almost like Shaykh. It's like the idea of like wanting to get married because you want that feeling, right? It's like, oh, I just want to feel that. Because it literally is asked like a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
It's like, you know what I'm saying?
No, you explain it to me.
No. This is all you.
No.
I'm trying to
I'm not gonna co-sign if I don't understand what you're saying.
No, I'm talking about like that idea, like you said, like you're not really sincerely, you're not into the real like experience because you have that sincere love for that person.
Yeah.
You just want that feeling.
The high of it.
You want the high of that feeling.
Yeah, I got you.
How much spiritually, you just want to cry in prayer. You're not necessarily like focusing on Allah.
Yeah.
You're trying to focus on crying.
And so
right?
in marriage, it's like, I'm just trying to get it. I want to understand it. Okay. So you're saying, like, you love the feeling of love.
That's right.
But you're not.
Yeah, it's an issue, man.
I feel you.
I mean, it's like life of like person that works with you. Like it's just like that feeling that you want all the time. And
got it. I feel you 100%. I'm with him, y'all. I'm with him. I get what he's saying. I got it now. I really wanted to understand. All
right, so I gotta ask you something.
Yo, I gotta get to ICI.
ICI. One more question.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, this is a good one, and we'll end with this one, inshallah. All right, Shaykh, here we go. I'll save this moment right now. All right, so this person is asking, on the day of judgment, people don't always have that same level of religiosity that you're talking about, right? On the day of judgment, how do I know that I've done enough in terms of like trying to be a Muslim? Like how do I know when I've tried my best? And this actually goes hand in hand with Ihsaan.
Yeah, no, we don't know. The Prophet ﷺ himself said, I don't know what will happen to me except if Allah showers his mercy upon me. Like Christians, Christians believe like you get a feel, like you're good to go on with your life. You're good. We don't believe that. We're like, no, you keep struggling, you keep striving, you keep begging Allah for his mercy, and inshallah you get it. There's no aman. There's no like, no, you're good to go, right? We don't really believe in that. We keep searching, we keep begging, we keep asking, we keep rectifying, we keep doing tawbah. You get what I'm saying? So I think the thing that I would use to judge myself is, am I pushing myself? Am I holding on to the deen, and am I pushing myself forward? If I'm doing those things, inshallah. And even then, I'm still a little skeptic. Ya Allah, please give me ikhlas. Ya Allah, give me sincerity. Ya Allah, please forgive me for my shortcomings. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we should ever get to a point where you're like, I'm good. If you get to that point, there's no more growth. You know what I'm saying? The best athletes are like, nah, my game could have been better. You're like, what are you talking about? You just had an amazing game. They're like, no, I was off a little bit. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I think similarly, that's how we need to be. It's like, I could get better. Now, some people hear that and they get demotivated because they're like, oh, what's the point? There's no point. It's like, no, use that to motivate yourself, right? So depending on where you are, you may need to be like, no, you did great, right? And some of us are at another point where we need to be like, no, I could do better. So you got to use that for yourself. You need to know how to motivate yourself to move forward. So listen, everyone, like a lot of the brothers, alhamdulillah, I miss y'all, man. I got to dip out to ICI. They got a little qiyam going over there. Don't come. I'm going to say the same stuff I just said to y'all. Yeah, inshallah. So I'm going to dip out. So if I don't say salam on the way out, please I ain't trying to act all arrogant or nothing, man. It's just I just gotta get over it. I don't want to be late, inshallah ta'ala. So I just want to say salam to everybody and run through the finish line. After Ramadan, inshallah, I'm gonna start our halakas back up. I don't know where yet, but we got to start them back up right away, inshallah, right after Ramadan. I don't care if we in the parking lot somewhere. We're gonna start up the halakas again, inshallah ta'ala. So please keep me and my family in your du'as. Keep qalam in your du'as. We're looking for a permanent home in the Metroplex. Maybe we'll be in one of y'all's backyard. You know what I mean? So make some du'as, inshallah. And jazakallah khair. Let's make a short du'a, inshallah. اللهم لك الحمد كله ولك الشكر كله وإليك يرجع الأمر كله علانية وسره اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم اللهم إنا نسألك حبك وحب من يحبك وحب عمل يقربنا إلى حبك يا أرحم الراحمين. Ya Allah, we ask you to accept all we have done in this blessed month of Ramadan. Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive our shortcomings. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, we ask you to heal those that are sick amongst us. Ya Allah, those who have passed away, we ask you to forgive their sins. Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Ya Allah, we ask you, Ya Allah, please forgive our shortcomings, Ya Allah, and give us the ability to finish off this month strong. And we ask you for your pleasure, Ya Allah. We ask you for your love, Ya Allah, and we ask you to give us the love of those actions that will gain your love, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu
alaikum. So inshallah, just a couple of things before y'all head out. This is our last Ramadan nights, inshallah, for the month of Ramadan. You guys are with us, alhamdulillah. Throw a dua tonight for Roots, that we also, like Mikaeel mentioned, that we find a space, a permanent home for ourselves, alhamdulillah. How many of y'all have enjoyed the Ramadan experience for Roots this month? Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. That's awesome, guys. We really could not be a community without our people in our community. So make a dua for Roots, make a dua, that Allah Ta'ala accepts all the deeds and all of the actions and all of the intentions that we have here. And also make dua for the volunteers and the families as well. They gave countless amount of hours this month to make y'all's Ramadan experience really beautiful. And on your way out, just really quickly, make sure you thank them on the way out. These volunteers are a big part of, they're really near and dear to my heart. So make sure that, if they don't feel appreciated, then I don't feel appreciated for anyone, right? Because they're literally what makes us continue going forward with what we do. So inshallah, thank them on your way out. Tell them jazakallah khair, make a dua for them and their family, and grab some food on the way out. I believe we got 0 owls on the way out for everyone. So inshallah, if you're feeling that like mid iftar suhoor hunger, inshallah, it's all y'all's.